We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day.
That was John F. Kennedy warning about communism and the communist attacks on America. Today, one of the greatest threats is a terrorist attack by Islamic extremists. And instead of dealing with the threat, we're deleting it now. We're not even supposed to say radical Islam anymore. And the Muslim Brotherhood is gaining power in our own country. And meanwhile, our government will tell us Muslim Brotherhood, largely secular, and peaceful. Why are we growing increasingly silent as the threat is increasingly growing? Someone from the very far left, a man who I doubt we agree on a lot on politics, but you were on my show on CNN Headline News when I did the Muslim extremists. You're from Canada.
Yes, the Toronto 18, the terrorist plot there.
Yes. And you are a Muslim?
Yes.
You're a socialist?
I'm a social democrat, if that would be close.
Okay.
I ran for the NDP, which is slightly left of the Democratic Party in Canada.
Okay. Tarek Fatah is his name. He is the founder of the Muslim Canadian Congress, author of The Jew Is Not My Enemy. Thank you for coming down and talking to me. The reason why I wanted to fly you in and have you here is because of a speech that you gave. I've never heard anybody from the left here in America have this kind of honesty. And you said the Muslim Brotherhood is a danger, and it is growing in strength, and it is now in our own White House.
Yes, it is.
Tell me.
Well, because of President Obama's first chief of staff, who came from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, there was a need for somehow, I believe, to compensate by bringing in Muslim radicals into the circle of friends that President Obama had. And so we had Dalia Mujahid from Gallup. I wouldn't say she's a card-carrying member of the Muslim Brotherhood, but nobody is. She had a heavy influence in the early years of President Obama in the decision that he visit Egypt long before the so-called Arab Spring, to put the Muslim Brotherhood in the front rows, to make sure that liberal, secular, nationalist Egyptians were kept out of it, for President Obama to say that in the United States of America, women have the right to cover their heads, as if that was the defining aspect of the United States of America. Those influences are there. If you look at the, I would even say the chief of staff or the close advisor to Hillary Clinton, the wife of former Congressman Weiner. She's born in Saudi Arabia. Closely, nobody analyzes her. Her mother is a member of the Muslim Sisterhood, which is the highest grouping of Muslim Brotherhood wives.
That is Anthony Weiner's wife.
Yes. Huma Abedin is her name. Prominent family.
And she works for Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely. Top, closest advisor. Her brother.
Side by side.
Side by side. Father established radical Muslim Brotherhood groups in Pakistan. Mother is in Saudi Arabia. Huma was born in Saudi Arabia. To this day, I'm waiting for her, Huma Abedin, to say what she thinks about the fascism and racism and apartheid that is practiced in the house of God in Saudi Arabia. Why has no journalist, why has not Time magazine or New York Times gone to say, when they were covering Congressman Weiner's stupidities, well, Mrs. Weiner, what exactly are your politics?
Because she's standing next to Hillary Clinton, and so she can't be a radical. That's what they will tell you. You're a Muslim hater. You are a xenophobe.
Well, I'm a Muslim, okay?
No, I know that.
I've done my Hajj. I've lived 10 years in Saudi Arabia. I can, and friends of mine in the United States, and we don't have the access to the media as CARE or other Islamist groups in this country have, but we know where this is coming from. Long before, Mr. Beck, you would understand what Islamism is. We lived through it as children, seeing slaughters and genocides, women being beheaded, acid being thrown in their face. Just today, 12 people have died in the city where I was born, Karachi. Cars on fire, buildings ablaze, public shootings from rooftops, assassinations, people gunned down on the streets. Do you think if these 50 people were killed in Gaza, it would not be first news in CNN? Why is it that darker-skinned Muslims from the Indian subcontinent or Darfur or wherever we come from, we are children of a lesser God? When we die at the hands of these Muslims?
Because I don't know what your opinion is on this. I would say it's because of Israel and the West. It is a leftist. I mean, look, the left are the first to come out and say women's rights, gay rights, everything else.
They're not saying that anymore.
Right. But they say it when it's to the West, but they'll never say that to the Islamic world, where they'll stone on the weekend that the president came out and said, you know what, I'm for gay marriage. That weekend, 2 homosexuals were stoned in Iran. They were stoned to death. What? I mean, where is the left?
That's my, I mean, I almost feel at the dusk of my life, I feel abandoned and betrayed by those who admired. You made a speech of JFK, who I admired as the quintessential American, good-looking president. And he was clear, despite his differences with the Republicans, as to who the enemy was. And he talks about these enemies that will not come in armies. And if he talked of communism then, today it is Islamofascism. Today it is the American leading universities that have been infiltrated by financial investments by private Saudi billionaires. You talk of Howard, you tell George Soros. But no, George Soros, but Georgetown University that supplies all the State Department staff. They all are trained by Saudi-appointed professors. I'm a Canadian. I feel sad for the United States of America. We have a conservative prime minister. We have the left and the right, but we have consensus that Western civilization is something that needs to be cherished and protected and preserved. It's come out of 400 years of people coming from Europe to think of the Reformation, of the Enlightenment. I'm sorry, it didn't come from China. It didn't come from the Gupta dynasty in India. You know, the universality of citizenship that you and I could sit together and talk as Christian and Muslim, as right and left, can only be possible because what happened in Europe in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th century. I'm sorry it didn't come up from Swaziland. But those are the realities we have to accept if we have to fight for even the gay rights that President Obama talks about. I've supported gay rights. I've run on that agenda, but I think he's being hypocritical and dishonest that he's saying he talked about with his daughters to come to this conclusion.
Why?
That's an advertising agency PR line. I worked 10 years in advertising. That's how you soften up an image. I'm sorry, it makes a cynic out of young Americans. They're saying, oh, I talked to Michelle's daughters. I talked to Sasha. How did Sasha have an influence on public policy? I mean, it's drama. And I am saying that that's not what JFK was. That's not what even President Clinton was. We're in an era of mediocrity where, you know, man can't live by speech alone.
We are in a time, I don't know if you saw the opening monologue, but I don't even know who we are anymore. Because the media, but the media and what's coming out of Washington is so upside down. You're just, wait a minute. Like you said, JFK, I'm a guy on the right. I'm a small government right guy. I'd vote for JFK right now that fast. That fast.
He was straightforward.
He was. He said what he meant and meant what he said. At least that's the way. At least that's the way. I didn't live through him. That's the way it appears to be now. He said things, and he was at least clear. We're not clear on the Muslim Brotherhood. We're being told, it's not that we're murky. We're being told that they're secular.
No, they're not. They are fascists. They are Jim Jones in KKK uniforms. These people would slit my throat and not even lose a smile. Who are the people who slaughtered Daniel Pearl in Karachi?
Brotherhood.
Brotherhoods. Like the Communist Party would have the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Then it would have the Peasants' Workers' Parties in Kiev.
Right.
Then it would have Artisans of Ukraine.
Right.
It's the same party. You play one against the other. It's like the Egyptian elections. Or you've got the Brotherhood versus the Salafists. I'm not a naive, guilt-ridden white liberal. I'm a Muslim who lived in the Middle East, born in Pakistan. I know crap when I see it. And the lies that are coming out from the White House and the State Department about the Muslim Brotherhood being some sort of moderate Muslims is catastrophic for this country.
Why is it happening?
I think America has become divided into ideological camps. And I have not seen, for example, I would expect you to sit with Bill Maher, for example, and over a cup of coffee and have 3-4 hours of serious discussion.
You know what? Can I tell you something?
Yes.
Last night, I wrote to a friend of mine, Penn Jillette, who is an atheist, a strong, hardcore atheist. I'm a deep religious man. We get along. And we were exchanging back and forth that we have to be able to foster this kind of relationship with people, that you can sit with people that you disagree with.
Without that, America is lost. Because when it came to the fight against communism, and I'm saying that as someone who's a student of Marxism, I was a student leader in Pakistan, and I watched how the Americans, whether they were Republican, liberal, Republican conservatives to Democratic liberals, the consensus in the United States of America was that we're facing an enemy and we will have to defeat it.
We're told that's not an enemy.
Which is an enemy that who else, you think those planes that attacked New York came from Ecuador?
You're preaching to the choir here.
Well,
but the president is, see, here's what I want to know. The president, you are on the left up in Canada.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if you're a fan of Marx, but you're on the Marx road compared to where I'm on the Washington road.
Yes,
okay.
I'm
The Marxists here in America, the leftists here in America, have knit themselves together. Our labor unions are over supporting the Arab Spring and the Muslim Brotherhood right now.
Yes, they are.
So why is this happening unless it is the destruction of the Western way of life? Because that's what the Muslim Brotherhood was.
Well, I think after 1990 and the collapse of the Berlin Wall, there was a verdict of history of the success of Western liberal, small L liberal democracy, separation of religion and state in public affairs. I'm not talking about in personal life. That consensus disappeared. And the left was left with no agenda other than anti-Americanism within the United States of America. So you got a NATO conference going on in Chicago, and who are the people protesting against it? Are Americans. And they're acting as if they're in Kent State University in '68. No, they're not. These are rich kids on sabbaticals, millionaires mimicking misery, acting out a role as if they are the Che Guevaras of the United States of America. No, they're not. You're simply delusional people who have no idea that there are 200 nuclear bombs in Pakistan today. There are people dying every day under the knives of the jihadis. And the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are not dead. Barack Obama can kill 100 bin Ladens, but he has not fired a single shot in the ideological war that pits Western liberal democracy against fascist Islamism. And that's the war of the day. If you can't use the word enemy, if you can't fight for women's rights, gay rights, civil rights, imagine an ideology that suggests that the blacks are slaves. You know what is the word for a black man in the Arab world? Ya abdi. You know what it means? My slave. A black man is known by nomenclature as a slave. That's the ideology the left is supporting in the United States of America under the banner of civil rights and Dr. King. They should be ashamed of what they're doing and how many people they are looking over as they get murdered.
They're using, and I want to come back to this, they are using the image of Dr. Martin Luther King all the way along. Guy we had on yesterday on video, his wife, I'm trying to remember, Tiffany, Stephen Lerner's wife, she's a radical as well, right? Okay, yeah, she runs the liberal Jewish organization that is...
anti-Israel.
Yeah, and that is anti-Israel, okay? And they're talking about Martin Luther King, that they are the new Martin Luther King. It is the most grotesque perversion of history I've ever seen. Hang on, we have to come back. Just a second. We'll be right back.